Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of Paris-Nice. Now, this is a crazy long stage, over 200 kilometers long, so we're talking about 130 miles in length. Has some category 3 climbs in there near the finish at about 35 kilometers to go, but it's not very steep. We're talking 4.5% with a couple 7 and 8% pitches, but it's just not steep enough overall at a 4.5% average at just about 5 kilometers long to really blow up the field. So today's stage is going to be one of those stages that I hated. There was no real action. There's no breakaway up the road. There's nothing happening. The riders are riding easy all day. And honestly, I hate watching these stages, but I really hated riding them because I was bored forever, talking about 5.5, 6 hours of boredom, and I hated these kind of stages. I much prefer when it's aggressive at the start for about an hour, and then stuff settles down. We set into that tempo of doing 40, 45K an hour. You get to the finish with 50 kilometers to go, and it's exciting all the way to the finish, and you got war stories to talk about for the rest of your life. That's not going to be one of these days, so hopefully you guys slept in if you're on the west coast of the United States. I did sleep in, but yes, I still watched the whole stage anyways later after I got up. Now, when the racing starts, like I said, quiet, boring, and it's going to take to about 55 kilometers to go when we have the time bonus sprint of 6, 4, and 2 seconds out there. And this time, Tadej Pogačar is not going to be given a gimme here for the time bonus sprints because FDJ is up there and David Gaudu, the Frenchman, not the Italian like I called him yesterday, he is up there and he wants some time bonus because he had a fabulous ride on yesterday's stage to finish second on Tadej Pogačar's wheel. So with this in mind, we see everybody's curb to curb. UAE is on the left. FDJ is there in the center of the road, and they'll start sprinting. Now they're doing about 40, 45K an hour uphill on the front. The FDJ rider pulls off, and Matteo Jorgensen, the Movistar American rider, he throws in an attack, and then Arnaud Demar from FDJ, their pure sprinter, he's won Grand Tour stages left and right throughout his career. He is accelerating hard and jumping to the line. Now he's going from the center all the way to the right. Tadej Pogačar is on his right side and starts a big acceleration to come up on Arnaud Demar, and Demar shuts the door on him. Now, I'll get into that more, but on the back part of the right side back wheel there of Arnaud Demar, all of a sudden it's his teammate, and it's David Gaudu that splits the wheel between Matteo Jorgensen and his sprinter and gets 6-second first place time bonuses here on today's stage 5. Guess what? Pogačar has to hold back, and he ends up having to let off the gas. He gets 2 seconds for his third place, and Demar finishes second for a 4-second time bonus, which nobody cares about. But most important, the sprinter, as I've been saying throughout these early stages, if you give Tadej Pogačar some pain and suffering, you might be able to get a couple seconds away from him, and that will move David Gaudu up 4 seconds on the general classification to Tadej Pogačar at the end of today's stage. Now, things settled down again afterwards. Of course, Pogačar was a little bit upset at Demar at the top. You can see those two little bit of giving the look over there from Pogačar over to Demar, and he's not looking left because he doesn't want any of it. In my professional opinion, it's a little bit too close to call for sure for any kind of penalty up there for Demar, because I honestly, when the sprinters, when they're sprinting full down and their head's looking under their armpit, he can probably see that bright yellow jersey coming up on the right side. So I think he just shut the door on Pogačar and moved a little bit more than he should have. But I don't have enough information, enough experience to tell you for sure, and only Arnaud Demar would, and he's not going to tell you he did it on purpose. So with that, we know Tadej Pogačar loses 4 seconds to David Gaudu. Now let's get back into the racing because it's still boring as hell up there, but it's going to get a little more exciting, and with 4 kilometers to go, they're coming up to this island, and we're going to see the Alpecin de Koenig rider, I think it's Layson, he's going to start sprinting because he's trying to get his train all the way up because they're coming into a left turn up to the island. You see Layson just barely missed the island there in the center of the road, and then he starts to the left, and then boom, next thing you know, when they come out of the left, Layson's flying off into the grass. Now let's back the film up just a little bit to about 7 kilometers to go. Tim de Klerk from Quick-Step's back there. He's trying to slot through the right side there of Layson, and Layson's not moving over. Because if I back the film up all the way to beyond 10 kilometers to go, Layson's been on the front riding full gas trying to keep his sprinters up here from Alpecin de Koenig in good position. And at 7 kilometers to go, he doesn't want to move over for Tim DeClercq. Tim DeClercq will, after a few hundred meters, find his way to the left side and move up with his quick step train. And now when we go up into that 4-kilometer left turn, you understand just after that at 3.8, when Tim DeClercq looks back like that, as he sees Laysen going off in the grass, there's a little bit of a smile there. Now, I'm just kind of guessing here. I can't 100% say that Tim DeClercq's actually smiling. But when you go back to 4 kilometers, you can go back to 7 kilometers, and you see where Laysen wouldn't let him out, and there's a little bit of fighting and argy-barging going on there. You got to believe that later at 3.8, after he's looking back over his shoulder, looking at Laysen, who's been going full gas a block for about 10 kilometers on the front of the road, flying off the road, Tim DeClercq looks like a little bit of a smile there on the front going, yeah, I won that battle against Albacete de Koenig. And now Tim DeClercq continues riding on the front full gas. He'll ride on the front all the way to under about 3 kilometers to go. We're looking at about 2.3 now. There's an island in the road. Quick Step is all the way on the left side of the road with their sprinter, Tim Millers, lined up on Florian Senechel's and Yves Lampaert leading them out. Now, as the island disappears, Quick Step move all the way to the left, and we're about 1.2 kilometers to go, and Tim Miller is going to get a little bit boxed in because there's a roundabout coming up at 1K. Up front, you see Quick Step riders sprinting, a whole peloton curb to curb, going full gas into this roundabout. Once they go into the roundabout, I want to point something out. It looks like Florian Senechel, the last lead-out man for Tim Miller, looks like he might have nudged the inside curb on the roundabout. Something set him off because now all of a sudden he goes from, instead of leaning his bike left, he's going to go to moving it to the right. He's going to bump the Uno-X rider, and both riders are going to go over to the bike pedestrian right side of the roundabout there, and the Uno-X rider's just going to miss the pole that sets up there in the middle of the island. That was close call right there for Uno-X. Now when they come out of the roundabout, all of a sudden Quick Step's all spread out, right? Yves Lampart's up there. Florian Senechel was doing everything he could to save his life and his bike. Tim Miller's gotten lost somewhere in the back. Left side of the road was probably the place to go around the roundabout because they looked like they had less traffic that way. And now Ben Swift, who went to the left, he's going full gas and going on a flyer. All the riders behind are all looking in all different directions, trying to do the math on which lead-out train is going to hit the front, while Ben Swift is flying up the road for Team Ineos. Now, you look back, all of a sudden you'll see it's a Feeney back there, a little bit boxed in, but he's flying around the right side. He's going to pause and hesitate and have just a quick little conversation with his sprinter, Olaf Koy. You can't see it in the pictures. I couldn't see it in the camera, but I know he did it because they had a conversation on camera after this race finished. So Feeney's on the front. He's throwing down full gas. Mads Pedersen's locked onto his wheel. Olaf Koy sitting third, and Ben Swift is still solo up the road. As we come into the left turn coming up with just before 300 meters to go, we'll see Tim Miller getting a little more boxed in. Once we go into this left, Ben Swift still has the gap on Affini from Jumbo-Visma. Mads Pedersen's locked onto his wheel. Olaf Koy is there, and the Intermarché riders, they're kind of coming in to the inside and blocking Tim Miller, and that's going to push Tim Miller a little bit further back when they come out of this final left turn. Now up front, Ben Swift is just getting caught by Affini, who's going full gas. We see Mads Pedersen, Trek Segafredo, already a stage winner here at Paris-Nice. He starts his sprint about 225 meters to go as we see the Bora Hansgrohe rider on the right side. Danny Van Poppel's looking back for Sam Bennett, but Sam Bennett doesn't have the legs on today's stage. Danny Van Poppel goes flying off and getting out of the way to the left to try to hope that Sam Bennett does, but we're not going to see Sam Bennett give a run at the finish of today's Stage 5 Paris-Nice. Up front, we're talking about 200 meters, about 175 now to go. And all of a sudden, it's Olaf Koy starting his acceleration. He's pulling up even at about 150, 100 meters to go with Mads Pedersen, 75 meters to go. Olaf Koy has the lead, and they're at the finish with about 25 meters to go. Olaf Koy sits up and celebrates his biggest victory of his career, his very young, early career here for the Jumbo-Visma rider to win Stage 5 of Paris-Nice. Second across the line, Mads Pedersen, Trek Segafredo. And third, Tim Miller. Tim Miller did a very good sprint. Guys, he lost all of his train, got boxed in at 1.2 kilometers to go, lost all his boys through the roundabout when Florian Sindechel almost crashed into the UNO-X rider, causing catastrophic nightmares if that would have happened. And then Tim Miller surfing on his own all the way, getting boxed in from the Intermarché riders going into the left turn. Still comes up for a podium here at stage 5 of Paris-Nice. But Olaf Koy, Jumbo-Visma, we see them all celebrating after the line. Remember, it was a crying game yesterday for Jonas Vingegaard's hard knocks, lessons learned on yesterday's stage 4 against Tadej Pogačar, where he finished 6th on the stage, and now they win today's stage. Now, that was a fabulous win, but Tadej Pogačar, he loses 4 seconds to David Gaudu, the Frenchman from FDJ. Not really a big crisis, I don't think, because I think the 2 solid best climbers, Tadej Pogačar is going to be able to drop the FDJ rider, but it does add some complications when we start going into the last 2 stages here at Paris-Nice, because now all of a sudden, Tadej Pogačar has to keep a very close eye on David Gaudu, who has some good speed in his legs. Remember, last year at Dauphiné, he won that sprint finish against none other than Wout van Aert, and so we know the kid can start taking some more time bonuses starting in tomorrow's stage 6 of Paris-Nice. So a lot to keep an eye out for, and I do believe Jonas Vingegaard is the 2nd best climber here at Paris-Nice, so this could kind of help him a little bit if David Gaudu has to be a little bit aggressive going for these time bonuses. All of a sudden, when we get into the mountain stages, if there's any gap, it's going to allow Jonas Vingegaard to sit back, make Tadej Pogačar do a ton of work early in the climbs, and then Jonas Vingegaard can start attacking closer to the top instead of so early like we saw on yesterday's stage 4. Now, I want to cover just a couple stages real fast over at Tirreno-Adriatico because it was a spectacular show on yesterday's stage 3 sprint victory for Jasper Philipsen from Albacete de Koenig. And the main thing I want to highlight is that he has his main lead-out guy is none other than Mathieu van der Poel. If you remember right, last year on the butterfly effect during the Giro d'Italia, I had a little bit words against Sean Kelly when Sean Kelly said Mathieu van der Poel had done a perfect lead-out, and I said it was terrible because the rider from the Netherlands had never once during the last 2 to 4 kilometers of the stage, and I believe it was 4 if I remember correctly, never once did he look back for his sprinter. Now we fast forward here to Tirreno-Adriatico stage 3 at about 1.2, 1.4 kilometers to go. It's Jasper Philipsen that loses his lead-out man's wheel, Mathieu van der Poel. Then he finds his way back onto his wheel with about 1 kilometer to go. And this time, Mathieu van der Poel looks straight over his shoulder before the real big power starts to hit at around 900 meters to go. Mathieu van der Poel looks back, sees that Jasper Philipsen's on his wheel. There's 2 riders in front of Mathieu van der Poel, one Trek Segafredo, one Bahrain Victorious rider that'll take over at about 900 meters, 800 meters to go. He'll go all the way into about 500 meters to go, and then Mathieu van der Poel will do a phenomenal, beautiful, picturesque beauty of lead out here for Jasper Philipsen, going from 500 meters all the way into about 150 meters to go, and then just basically deliver Jasper Philipsen to an amazing stage 3 victory with just a textbook lead out all the way to the line from Mathieu van der Poel. So I wanted to make sure I didn't leave that out in the butterfly effect because I've had harsh words for Mathieu van der Poel's lead outs in the past, but stage 3 of Tirreno-Adriatico was magical. Now let's bump forward to today's stage 4 just real quick because we're running out of time. As we're coming up to the finish, it's Attila Valters for Jumbo-Visma, the new recruit that put on a spectacular show at Tirreno-Adriatico, and in my mind up here on the butterfly effect, you were absolutely perfect, Valters, with your teamwork and your tactics during Strade Bianche. No matter what was said in the press afterwards, you were perfect. Your teammate Thies Benoot was not perfect. He was employing the tactics from Kern Brussels Kearns, which won him that race. The only problem is, at that race, they were all together at the front, and at Strade Bianche, there was still one Tom Pidcock off the front. So those tactics that you used during Kern Brussels Kearns can't work at Strade Bianche at this moment, and Thies Benoot was the tactical problem the whole time at Strade Bianche, not Attila Valters, who was perfect. Now let's get up here at stage 4 and let's finish this last uphill sprint finish for Tirreno-Adriatico with Attila Valters on the front. He's controlling the pace and setting it smooth and steady as we start seeing attacks go. Valters just doing a steady tempo. And then with about 500 meters to go, we see with everything back together, Primoz Roglic, the Vuelta champion, three-time Vuelta champion, does a big acceleration from about 500 meters out. I was thinking sitting on Chesterfield, this is a little bit early, reminds me of your Flesh Wallona. I hope you don't plan on going all the way to the line from 500 meters with anything less than 100% form. And he himself said it wasn't 100% here at Tirreno-Adriatico since this is his first showing in Europe. Now he goes full gas at about 500, but it's just to keep himself in the position to go through a couple curves and tight, narrow sections here up to the finish. Then he backs off the throttle. Magical Primoz Roglic backing off the throttle. Perfect time. We see the other riders get to the front, and as the big hit out comes to the line, it's Adam Yates up there, UAE Team Emirates, their big-time favorite up here to win the general classification. He's leading it out to the line, and then Primoz Roglic launches off his wheel to take a victory at Tirreno-Adriatico to give Jumbo-Visma victory at Paris-Nice and Tirreno-Adriatico. Magic for Jumbo-Visma. Isn't sports something fabulous? This is what I love, the highs and lows. Yesterday, Jumbo-Visma's super low with Jonas Vingegaard's loss. Today, the whole team celebrating at Paris-Nice, and now Primoz Roglic is celebrating over at Tirreno-Adriatico, and he's only within just under 10 seconds on the general classification of Leonard Kamna from Bora Hansgrohe, who lost just a little bit of time on today's stage. So everything is still up for grabs to win over at Tirreno-Adriatico for Primoz Roglic and his Jumbo-Visma team that look incredibly strong over there after this stage 4 of Tirreno-Adriatico. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll do what I can to try to cover both races, but as you know, Paris-Nice is my #1 objective here on the Butterfly Effect for this week, but I'll do what I can to highlight some of the Tirreno-Adriatico stages. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition real soon.